It's Retro Podcast with your host, Retro Lion. We talk music, entertainment, films, and more. And now, here he is, live, Retro Lion. Michelle, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Overslept this morning, but that's about it.
No, I totally understand that. It's a very exhausting time of year, I feel like. And now we're like a little burnt out trying to reassess, our approach and our angle. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling that exhaustion too. But yeah,
So you record music, correct?
yes, that's what I do and I love it. It's fun.
And most of these are original work, or
Yeah, I started out a cover artist in my earlier years, and then I started writing my original music in 2020 officially, like as my own personal brand, but technically I started around the same time I was putting out my first cover album in December of 2018. See, I always work throughout the holidays. It's always like a grind. I put out two albums that kind of started my recording artist career in December 2018 back to back that I worked on in the last quarter of 2018. So they were called studio sessions, which is like popular music, but acoustic covers of them. So like stripped down and a Christmas album. So those were, I was still an undergraduate in college at that time, but that was me kind of telling my parents, like, I really want to do this with my life. I was studying history at the time. I thought I was going to go to law school. I went through a lot in the last several years of like kind of like my life redirecting itself to go into this path. And it's funny because once I actually did go down the path of music, like everything actually, yeah, it's been very challenging in terms of the marketing aspects, management, and all that. But when it came to the actual creation of the music, once I actually got into it, it was a endless flow of I'm on the right path. And things just kept falling into place, even when I wasn't feeling good, even when I wanted to quit. Something just kept pulling me in that direction. And so, yeah, I'm grateful that now I am fully writing original music, but it didn't always start out that way. I used to be an opera singer. I used to be into musical theater, and I started out just posting cover songs on Instagram. And that's pretty much what got me discovered by an artist development company that introduced me to my producers, to my co-writers, and we've just been having a ball ever since, having so much fun writing about all my life's experiences, but particularly my spiritual path, my spiritual journey. And I like to write about my emotions. I like to write love songs. I feel like I'm very known for like love songs and emotional, spiritual, grandiose ideas. Like a lot of my songs are inspired by my personal poetry. My Instagram page is actually started out just as a poetry page. And then in 2018, I had a co-writer that I met in college. He was my age, actually a little younger than me. And we met at this party that I was singing opera at, and he was rapping at, ironically, and then we became music partners. So that's really the foundation of my career. Me experiencing what it was like to write my own stuff was with this person. Because before him, my self-concept was I'm an opera singer. I don't write music. Like I read compositions and I interpret what the composer wrote on, musical notes, and then I internalize the message and then I perform it. I never thought I had anything to say. I never really thought that I could write music until this person came into my life. And then that sort of created the series of events that ended up putting me on the path that I'm currently on. So I'm very grateful to that person. It's been a beautiful, intense journey that has produced some intense songs. I don't know if you've listened to any of my work, but it's very deep because of how much my heart expanded from those experiences. I feel like music is the language of the heart and soul, and so that's why I love it so much. I've dedicated my life to it, and I don't really want to change it. I don't want to change career paths anytime soon. you know
let's go on that.
yeah.
Don't worry. I do have the music on my list to listen to. You're not the first artist I've had on my podcast. I've had multiple singers, mainly from the Los Angeles area, that I still need to,
Oh, no, no,
listen to
I'm
their
not.
music. So don't worry.
I love it. No, there's so much music out there to listen to. So I wasn't sure if you had listened because I was like, do I talk about it? You know, like because it's so intense, and I'm like, it might be a lot before you listen to talk about, so I wasn't sure.
Well, I'm just curious to know how intense is it?
Um, well, what people call me, what they know me to be, like, in the last several years, like when I kind of put out, it took a couple years to actually put out the music, but once I did, I guess what you could say is people would name my personal brand cinematic pop. So it's pop music, but that tells a story that almost sounds like every song is like a character in a movie. So it's very true to my operatic roots because opera is a whole art form that, people just have to break out into song. And, musical theater is like you just have to break out into song because a character is experiencing something that is so profoundly emotional and so profoundly life-changing that a song ensues. And they call it an aria in the operatic world. So it's like, oh, each of these songs is like an individual aria in a grander story. And each of my albums are pretty much not my mini EP, that one was more just like singles. But each of my songs, when in album form, when you listen from beginning to end, it tells a whole story. So you can think of each album almost like a movie or its own theater or greater work of art. And but then of course I do release singles as well to just connect with people on a more personal level. But everything I do really comes from a very bird's eye view, very much like a theater or opera piece. So
Very, very cool.
thank you. Well, again, you haven't heard it yet because I haven't put it out yet. I'm going to be putting out these bigger pieces this year. But what I have out right now is like I have out two EPs and then two cover albums and a couple remixes to singles. So it's like I'm just kind of revving my engines right now.
Well, it's very important to tell what you know, because even if you're writing fiction, it's important to start with what you know, basically. Like if there was like a recent vacation that you went on, you could write about your vacation, but add some fictional elements to it.
Totally. And then you can expand into different genres as you grow, which is definitely what happened with me because I ended up linking up with these incredible EDM producers. And so now people have like, well, my brand has kind of morphed into EDM for especially for remixes of songs that were not originally composed in that way. And it's kind of like blowing my mind because I never thought I'd be in that realm, and yet I am, and it's connecting with people in a way that's deeper than ever before because that sound is like what's popular, but then it's like I have this intense lyrical storytelling in an EDM song, and it's like, wow, it's so cool to mix and blend genres and like bring all these incredible minds together to create this. It's been the journey of a lifetime. Like I feel like I'm gonna get emotional right now because I love, like, for me, the my favorite part of what I do is the actual creative process. The putting it out, yeah, that's a little harder. Like, but the moments of writing the song, recording the scratch vocals, pitching it to my producers, getting an instrumental track from them, going to the studio, or before going to the studio, training with the song with my vocal coach, shout out to Matthew Morgan, and and just making sure it's perfect. Then going to the studio, recording it with my incredible sound engineer, shout out to Randy. And then, it's like there's so many people involved in the process. And then sending it over to my producers, and then going through like maybe 1 to 12 or even beyond. Versions of mixes before we then send off the final mix that I'm very happy with to my latest teammate, my mastering engineer, Fili Filizola in LA. And it's just like when I finally get that last touch from him at the end of that process, and like it's like, whoa, like a song went from just a thought in my mind, and usually it starts as a title or a concept or a poem, and then it develops over a period of time. And it's, for me, it's like all my songs are like my babies, I'm giving birth, like and it's so much fun. I just love creativity. It's so, like, how a painter needs to paint,
Mhm.
you know a writer needs to write, a singer needs to sing, all of that. So I feel that for me, I found my passion in this life, and I really wish that for everybody.
Very well done. My
Thank you.
my advice that I actually had this from Till Paris, who was on my podcast for season 2,
Ooh.
and
He collects arcade consoles from the 80s. And
Cool.
one of the advice he gave was very similar to yours. I mean, do something you're passionate about. Don't just do it for the sake of it. Like, actually do it if that is what you really want to accomplish.
Right, like do what brings you joy, like what gives you that childlike sense of like open-heartedness, expansion. Like I had a songwriting session last week on Monday, and I was hysterically crying in front of my co-writers on Zoom. It was embarrassing for like the duration of the whole 2.5 hour period because of what was coming through, and like the truth and the emotions and the vulnerability and the recognition of I can't believe we wrote all these songs like in the last 2 years. And they're like, they say I'm on a musical marathon, like I'm on a rampage, like I'm just going so hard because I don't want to stop. I've never felt so happy, you know, when I'm doing this. And then when I have to, deal with the logistical parts of it, it definitely drains me. It's taxing, but because I have so much fun with the like the passion part of it, it makes all of the logistical parts of it a lot easier to deal with. It's like, okay, when I heard this quote once, I forgot where it's from, but it's, when you don't feel inspired, do what's required. So I have a lot of like, I call them buffer days, where I'm dealing with emails, meetings, just like the logistics of running an operation, like a business, right? And I don't find those things to be joyful. But then when I go to my writing sessions, I go to my studio sessions, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all worth it. Everything is so worth it in the end. Like, when it all comes together, and the creative process is so joyful. I'm sure like because you created this, and from start to finish every piece and part that was put together it's just so much fun. Why would you do anything that's not fun?
Exactly.
Like,
I
you
mean,
know
it's part of the experience because it's not about what we face in the past or what we think is going to happen in the future. It's about the experience and learning
Mhm.
from the experience. I mean, when it comes to reaching out to guests, I mean, it's been a combination of yes, we have guests who are able to be on. We have guests who want to be on, but they can't do it at the moment, which completely understand. And then we have guests who don't want to be on for multiple reasons, which I get it because it it's a cartoon that the audio is put over top of, and there are some folks that don't want to see themselves as a cartoon character, which I completely
I
understand.
thought it was so funny and cool. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it's cute that you did that because it's like different from a normal podcast where, it's just a voice or someone sees my Zoom, screen. Like I did one of those on YouTube once, and I just kind of felt vulnerable because it's like in my house. I kind of really like this concept because it added that little like touch of creativity that stood out from other things. So I mean, I totally get that if someone's serious, like their image is
Yeah.
like, I'm very serious, and I am a serious artist. My image online is pretty serious. But if you know me in real life, and if you hear me on other podcasts and interviews, I'm a goofball. I'm like very chill. I'm a very go with the flow person. That's also ironically very type A and controlling at the same time. Like when it comes to like my business affairs, I'm like, I need things to be, I need all my T's crossed, I need all my I's dotted. But for the most part, I'm just a big kid, you know. I'm a
Yeah.
26-year-old child.
I'm 24 with yeah, with that mind as well. I mean, yes, we're adults, we pay our taxes, but
Did
I
you say
give
you're
him
24?
I'm 24.
Oh, you're younger than me. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like it's not that bad.
No, no, I never know how old people are. So based on their energy.
Yeah,
I never
but
know. I never ask.
yeah, the
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to be a cartoon is because not to say this out loud because I feel bad speaking about this for the first time, but ever since like spring of last year, I've never been comfortable showing myself in front of the camera. Like I'm just someone who doesn't like to be on
I
camera
feel
mainly
that.
because I actually get these severe panic attacks when I'm on
I
camera.
feel that. I used to
Um,
deal with that too. And getting into this career, I had to really, really deeply heal my brain around that because even just shooting music videos in California and doing all the music video work and photography work that I have to do in order to put my music out, it's been actually really hard for me. I'm going to be honest.
really,
Like I resonate with you so much. Like I'm I think everyone deals with insecurities, and like no matter how, attractive or whatever, like we always find something wrong with ourselves. We're our own biggest critics. For me, it's Like, oh, if I always tell my photographers, like, you got to shoot this side of my face. I don't like this side of my face. Like, I have to tell everybody I work with. They all laugh because they're like, dude, you're crazy. But I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this is the right angle. Also, zoom out. I don't like close-ups. Like, I tell them, like, and it's, people that know me, like, they know I'm very particular. Like, like, I'm very, you can call it type A. Um, but I totally understand. Like, I had to kind of relax about it and just be like calm. And what happened with me was, because I had to keep my Instagram page going. I remember in like 2020, I didn't post for like 8 months because I was going through it. And that was the 8 months I was kind of coming up with the concepts of what I wanted to write as a writer. And writing is so much easier and recording so much easier because you're in the dark, you're just a voice. And I feel very comfortable as a voice, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable as me, like presenting myself to the world. That's been a little bit more difficult. And I've dealt with, this feeling of like hyper analyzing my brand and my personality online. And I've had people be like, why do you never smile in your photos? I'm like, well, because honestly, I don't like my teeth. Like, I really don't feel like I look attractive when I'm smiling in photos. Like, maybe that's just my own limiting belief, but I feel like safer when I'm putting out that, that model scowl. Like, like
Yeah.
that's exterior armor. Now people who are listening to this interview, like, they know the truth. But the thing is like, I'm always putting out an image to protect myself because it's vulnerable to put yourself out there. So I'm wearing makeup, I have my hair done, I have my nails done, I'm wearing a great outfit. That's my superhero costume. Then I go to a photo shoot, I put out the image, and I know my photographer that I work with the most, Angelica, knows me so well, and she's so God-given talented at taking photos of me that actually do it justice, because if you work with the wrong person, they, you can get photos that don't do you justice, And so that's been really the game changer for me, like, was working with her, and a couple of my other collaborators, was like having some successful shoots and feeling, okay, I am photogenic, I am okay. And it's like you get that green light and then you keep going. And just like everything else, practice makes perfect. The more you post, the more you detach from what other people think about you. And even with the Instagram algorithms, like, they've gone so up and down with my inconsistency over the years. So I can't let those numbers get to me anymore. But for the most part, it's like about, like, getting over the fear by facing the fear.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was like a long spew, but I'm glad that you said all that because that really brought up a lot for me.
No, I mean, that's good. It's important that other
Yeah.
people hear our stories and get advice, like get, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration.
Right.
Inspiration.
And just the feeling of like, you're not alone,
Yeah.
you know?
If I was wearing like a like a mascot costume, like a Mickey Mouse Disney mascot costume, or
Like Marshmallow, like with the
yeah, Marshmallow or Daft Punk, like the two robots.
right, right. Which honestly, I honestly feel that it's scary to put yourself out there. I didn't want to, but I wanted to make music. So for me, it was a sacrifice that I had to overcome. But if you don't have to put yourself out there, then hey, what you're doing is perfect. Like, this is a creative solution to the problem you're facing, you know?
I almost went by a different name, but then I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna do it because I'm really happy with where I am and don't want to change it. But and you were saying the same thing. You're happy with where you are and you don't want to change a thing either.
Right. Well, now because I got over my fears and I've created systems and strategies to consistently create content, I'm definitely behind a bit, but
Same.
like, you kind of just get over it. Like, it's kind of like paying your taxes. It's like, hey, you want to run a business, you got to pay your taxes. You want to live in
Exactly.
America, you got to follow the laws. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just like that. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to be a music artist. I love music, and I got to go through the other motions. I got to post on Instagram. I got to post on TikTok, which I hate. I'm not gonna lie to you. I resisted TikTok for
I don't
like
have TikTok.
the last 4 years, but everyone's like, you got to get on TikTok. And I'm like, so like, I now I have someone helping me with my TikTok, thank God. Where, I send her my content, she posts for me. So now all I really do is deal with like Instagram and writing my music, recording my music, putting, like, doing my photo shoots, doing my music video shoots, and organizing back end and coming up with strategies, dealing with with like my marketing, like, systems, like, which I haven't built yet, but that's the next thing. So I'm doing a lot of my business's operations myself because I'm independent.
Mhm.
Um, So I'm being the artist and the manager, I'm being the artist and the CEO. Like it's interesting. It takes a lot of energy, but again, because I'm passionate about it, I'm able to do it. I'm able to just, pull myself up by the bootstraps, go through a period of like, for the last week, I was exhausted and I
Mhm.
needed to give myself a break because I had been going so hard so long. I gave myself that break and now I'm back to work, on Monday morning. Well, now it's
Multi-talented.
Wednesday. What'd you say?
Multi-talented.
Oh, thank you. You do what you got to do. Pay
Exactly.
attention, be happy, live your best life. Like life is not that I used to be so much more serious than I am. Now I'm just like, all right, it's not that deep. Like stop overthinking yourself to an early grave. People
When
like the genuine, authentic side of you. Like
Mhm.
yeah, my Instagram looks intense. People don't even know that I'm a singer based on it because I've curated it in a way that's like that's my personal brand. I'm like, it's like spiritual, the like creation, poetry, deep thoughts. I'm not for everybody. I really am not. But the stronger your personal brand is, the better you can find your target audience, is what I've found. People that really do resonate with you, they resonate with you like very deeply. They're like, wow, like I deeply feel this. And it feels really good because that's like that validation that, because I feel like when you're writing a song or when you're inspired to write something, like for me, it was an album that I was like divinely inspired to create, which is the one I'm putting out this year. What happened was I had put out my Coming Home EP album, and what happened was my original team that I was working with, like, um, they weren't what I thought. Like when I was originally signing up to work with them, like I thought they were gonna be like my management team, my marketing team. That wasn't the case. They were more like consultants, like kind of telling me what to do, and I had to do everything. And that really discouraged me. I'm not going to lie. So I pretty much almost quit. Like I put out the songs to crickets because I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't have any more money left to market with because I poured all the money into creating.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I don't even know where to even throw money at, like ads, like, I was just like throwing darts in the dark. So what happened was I felt like a failure, and I really let that get to me for a period of about 6 months. It was a very intense time. And I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not cut out for this. And I almost completely switched paths. I went as far as applying to an MBA program in a different city, moving out of my hometown city that I had been living in since 2020 during the pandemic years, away from my family. I got into the program. It was like it's in UCF, like Orlando in Florida, right? Anyways,
I love Orlando.
I do too. No, don't get me wrong. I love Orlando. I actually really love living there. I went as far as moving there and going to like the week before my semester started for my MBA program, I pulled out of it. Even though I got in, I moved to another city. I was like really about to start school and forget music. And it was like the only way I can describe this is like God intervened. Like it was like a way bigger power than me like overtook my whole being. Like it was like, Michelle, like what are you doing? Like, like it was like, get back where I told you to go. Like and then I was like, okay, I surrender. And then boom, I pulled out like right at the last second of before my classes started. And then I got the downloads. I call them downloads, like
Mhm.
I got the full vision, the full order of the album, every song title in order before it was all written. And now that it's all done and written, I'm like, I can't even believe how divine this process has been. Like, because it's like, it feels like a Michelangelo. Like,
Mhm.
you know how he says he sees the sculpture in the rock? He
Mhm.
sees it the end before at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's what this process has been like for me. And it is, oh, I'm gonna get emotional because it's beautiful. Like it was just like, boom, here it is. And then all I did was just listen to every like inspiration I got. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna write about this. And then I'm gonna write about this, and I'm gonna write about this. Got my team together, we made it happen. And this album is called, it's coming out in November. The first single of it's coming out this month. And it's called From My Soul to Yours. And it's a compilation of songs written from the perspective of my
Mhm.
soul, like my highest aspect, and to humanity. to my creator and to like a counterpart figure, like the opposite but equal soul energy. So it is, but it's like written in a way that it could be interpreted in many different ways, but that's the true meaning, like you're hearing it from the artist's mouth, right? But I wrote it in such a way that it would be palatable to the masses. Not all the songs, some of the songs are like really just too deep, but for the majority of them, like the singles are for the masses. It's meant to resonate with people. Like it was written in a popular way, like pop music, right? um and I was just like beyond belief floored. And then I wrote another album after that, all in the same time frame. So this process began in September 2022, and now we're in April 2024, and we're almost done with the second album, which is going to probably be released next year. And it's beautiful because like the story just keeps going on forever. It's like this eternal unfolding process, and it's written from a very deep perspective of like, how many times can you write a love song? You know, like there's a lot of love songs on these albums, but all the different ways that you can describe an emotion or describe a feeling. You know, I'm Italian, so I can gab a lot. Like I'm like talk, but that's why I feel like songwriting is perfect, because it's taking a long story and it's making it short. Make a long story short. And you only have so much time to say what you need to say, and you have to say it in a way that grabs people's attention, that resonates with people, that makes people be like, oh my God, that line in that song just hit the like core of my being, you know? And so that's what the challenge and the opportunity for growth has been for me. It has been in the process of discovering what needed to come through, and all I had to do was surrender to God. I just, again, I really don't feel like I wrote these songs. I really feel like God wrote them through me. That's why it's so profound, it's so deep for me. But yeah.
Michelle, thank you again for joining today's episode, and wish you the best with your second album.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, I'm excited to keep yeah, like, and if you go, do you have an Instagram? I'd love to stay in touch with you.
I do have Instagram, yes. It's at retro benzina 99.
Okay.
I think it's 99. I don't remember. I don't keep up with social media.
Okay, I'll just
shame
follow.
on me for not remembering the Retro Podcast Instagram.
Here, how about this? Email it to me so I don't mess it up.
You got it.
Yeah, okay.
And no, I am not related to John Cena. People have asked that a few times. I'm like, no, I have no relation.
That's so funny. Yeah, people think I'm like Langone NYU Medical Center, and I'm like, I'm not related to him, but my dad's from New York. Does that count? Like, you know, we're so similar names. But anyhow, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for interviewing me, because this is a cool little thing you got going on. The cartoons, like,
thank you.
I'll post it on my Instagram and I'll tag you. So.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and follow us on Instagram. See you next week.